Well, hello, all you wonderful people. It is another week, another weekend of Formula One up and coming, and we are headed to Silverstone, site of the first official Grand Prix way back in 1948, I believe it is. So it has been the host of quite a number of Formula One events. Of course, there were various Grand Prix before that, but as the organization and the championship known as F1 started back here at Silverstone. As usual, before we get on to the intricacies of what we've got coming up this weekend and the track that we're driving, we'll take a little bit of a chat through last week. The Austrian Grand Prix, an early safety car intervention that really didn't change up the strategies too much. So we got pretty much solid green flag running the rest of the way. And to start it off, of course, McLaren. And it was quite the emphatic answer from Lando Norris after the Canadian Grand Prix crash with his teammate and questions about his confidence. Answered it very strongly. Now, he wasn't able to completely sweep leading every single time session of the weekend because as part of the rules requiring FP1 drives for rookies, 2 per car, so 4 per team, Lando Norris did not take part in free practice 1. But after that, free practice 2, free practice 3, all 3 sessions of qualifying, and of course, the race win. He was the fastest man on track all weekend. So any questions about his confidence, at least around there, allayed. Austria has been a very good track for Lando. Historically, he goes well there. The site of his first career podium. The very notorious Strat Mode 7, back when you can change the engine modes. Lewis Hamilton had picked up a 5-second penalty in the closing stages of the race. I think it was the 2020 Austrian Grand Prix, I believe it was. And Lando was just about 6 or so seconds back, and he turned the fastest lap of the race to get just inside that penalty window and jump ahead of Lewis Hamilton for his first career podium. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the here and the now and the championship battle. Oscar Piastri did well to get from the second row of the grid immediately up behind his teammate at the start. But Lando Norris drove very well in that opening stint in order to hold off his teammate. Several attacks, including one that nearly saw the two come together after a pretty big lockup into turn 4 from Oscar Piastri. Piastri showed good pace early on, but Lando Norris was able to hold off that counterattack and honestly showed some good racecraft, an area I've been very critical of Lando Norris on pretty significantly over the course of this season. Used the cutback almost as we described it in last week's preview to get the up and under on Oscar's probably best overtaking opportunity, kind of let him get ahead, cut him back, and got the drive down into turn 4 to retake the position. And after that, Piastri never really quite got the attack going. So, you know, McLaren easily looked to be the strongest car in the field. I think it finished a good, was it 19 seconds ahead of P3, the first of the Ferraris. So it was out there by a pretty significant margin. It was the fastest car on track pretty much the entire race. That said, we were not without potential blunders from the McLaren team. I do think the timing of Oscar Piastri's 2 pit stops was not ideal. Obviously, it did turn out to kind of be his choice for the first stop, but not pulling him in rather quickly after flat spotting the front right tire definitely was costing him some time. And then the second pit stop, instead of running him another lap or 2 longer, letting him use the offset that he was built in his first stint and basically pitting him the lap after Norris, put him into traffic with lap down cars, and not just traffic, but a fight for position between, I believe it was Yuki Tsunoda and Franco Colapinto, that ushered Oscar off the track. and nearly led to a pretty big crash there. Granted, those cars should have jumped out of the way, but late stages of a race and they're going for position, you've always got to take that into account, especially when he could have overcut those cars pretty easily by going another lap longer. But all in all, McLaren had a very good weekend, and Lando Norris himself had a weekend he definitely needed, and now he's going to be heading to a home race here in Silverstone. Next up, we've got Ferrari finishing P3, P4, one of the better weekends that we've seen the Scuderia have together. Leclerc, second fastest car on track all day. Granted, he was 19 seconds off the pace. He did have a few parts of his stints that were running similar lap times to the McLaren, so he was finding some speed. And of course, on the other side of the garage, Lewis Hamilton, a P4, his best Grand Prix finish with Ferrari. Of course, he did have that win in the Chinese sprint, but we're talking about Grand Prix finishes, so it's been his best start and best finish for quite some time. Now, part of that Lewis Hamilton was giving credit to is he has opted to now start trying to use setups a little more similar to what Leclerc is running on his car. And when it comes to driving style, that always plays a factor. He has probably had his closest pace weekend to Leclerc. That being said, another thing he noted was the rear end of the car slides around a lot more on Leclerc's setups. And you can see that from Hamilton's onboard. And apparently just Leclerc's driving style is able to deal with that sliding as well as keep the tires in better condition. It was pretty consistent that we saw Hamilton come out of the pits, put in some lap times similar to what Leclerc would be doing on like for like, and then the pace would fall off faster than Leclerc's. He did end up just 8 seconds off of Leclerc at the end, which is one of his better performances when they've been kind of just evenly matched. But he definitely has to try and adapt quickly to that setup change. I think he'll get better results, but it is going to be a difference in feeling for him. And he has noted that he's trying to put his finger on the scale a little bit for the development of next year's car. Try to get a little bit more in the friendly windows for him compared to Leclerc. Next up, we've got Mercedes, which after a race-winning weekend, to be where they were was a pretty significant drop-off. Of course, they only had one car in the race, essentially, after the first lap because of the first lap mistake, the rookie mistake of Kimi Antonelli into turn 3. Probably ambition over adhesion, as Martin Brundle likes to say. Rears kind of locked on his way in the braking zone of turn 3, just didn't have control of the car, kind of speared through the apex, collected Max Verstappen, taking that Red Bull out of the front mix, which was kind of important for the rest of the battle. But Kimi Antonelli aside, George spent the day more so leading the midfield pack and less so being the last car attached to the leading pack, which he's done in that Mercedes, been kind of more in the mix with the leading pack throughout the course of the season. This week really definitely looked to kind of be best of the rest when you take out McLaren and Ferrari's performance. I believe he was about 30 seconds back of even Lewis Hamilton at the end. And so it's kind of a big swing to see, week on week, to go from winning the Grand Prix in Canada to being largely irrelevant in the mix for even the podium positions. And I'm thinking it's got to be something related to the temperature and just not nailing the setup down. Because the temperature of that Mercedes, when the temperatures get high, that Mercedes does struggle. His tire wear seemed to be the real big problem. He was one of the earliest to stop off of that set of medium tires, then had to try and make a set of hard tires last the rest of the way, or a considerable margin. And so he's just always dropping time. So let's go ahead and mow the grass a little bit. But so that may have been kind of the issue with Mercedes this last weekend out. Next up, pretty early on in the list this time, but the Racing Bulls team, the V-Carbs, the Cash Apps, the whoever, what's it you want to call them, And we have been asking for quite some time, when will Liam Lawson find his feet? And Liam Lawson had a fantastic weekend. Highest qualifier of the Red Bull stable, highest finisher of the Red Bull stable, picking up some solid points for him there. And then, the RB looked to be a decent car in the hands of Liam Lawson. Isaac Hadjar had an uncharacteristically rough Saturday, putting him kind of down in the pack, and he was compromised the rest of the way. He didn't have the best of tire strategies either. But it was a really big weekend for Liam Lawson in, having been kind of trounced by his rookie teammate for most of the weekend. Weekends. He's finally starting to regain some form there, and now the question becomes: is this the start of a trend or an aberration? I'm hoping for his sake that it's the start of a trend, because he is a capable driver. He is quick. When he sat in for Daniel Ricciardo, showed the reason why he got that drive for the rest of that last season, and then got the early promotion to Red Bull. But it's really starting to look like that Red Bull car is being quite a doozy. But very good for Liam Lawson. I would expect Isaac Hadjar to bounce back, though, as well. But we'll continue to give Liam his flowers because he's certainly earned it. Next up, Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso continues his very good run of form. Another points-paying finish. After breaking that streak of no points, he's been nothing but points in the last now 3 races, I want to say. So a solid result for them. That car looks to be moving in the right direction. We're starting to see the development of a trend that we have seen in the past, which often makes Lance Stroll hard to gauge. And that is when the car is bad, and it's not performing well. We've seen it a couple of times now. When the car gets bad, Lance Stroll seems to look competitive compared to Fernando Alonso. Granted, they'll both be fighting for out of the points positions, but he's usually closer to his teammate in both quali and the race. But when the car gets good, that gap seems to just leave Stroll behind. Fernando Alonso starts converting into points-paying finishes, whereas Lance Stroll still well outside the points in this last weekend. So it's really hard to see, did Alonso step up his game? Has the car gotten better? Where does Lance Stroll fit into the picture of this? And, well, what are they going to look like next year with an Adrian Newey designed car? But we'll look to see. Fernando Alonso has typically gone well around Silverstone here, so a potential good weekend upcoming for him. Next through the field, a banner day for the Kick Sauber team. Headlined, of course, by Gabriel Bortoletto's first career points. A solid drive from him. Had to fight his way and do some defending at stages of this race, but was able to climb his way into Q3 on Saturday and hold off and score those points on Sunday. And just to put a real exclamation point on the day, Nico Hülkenberg, who started the race in dead last, also gained 11 spots to make it a double points finish, which, considering the way that Hülkenberg had been going the last few races, I would have been shocked if you were to tell me that Gabriel Bortoletto's first career points would not be a double points finish. But Nico really rectified a rough qualifying day with a very good start and good racecraft throughout the race, picking through the field to make it a nice double points finish for the Sauber team. The team seems to be rounding into form, and well, if the last round of upgrades are any indication of the trajectory that they're taking, it may be something to look out for in the 2026 team when Audi takes over. Of course, their engine's going to be a real big factor, but again, I've said it a couple of weeks in a row now, for a team I was thinking was looking like they're just going to phone it in until the Audi leadership comes in and runs with it. The impact that Mattia Binotto has been making since taking over as team principal has been the team very much moving in the right direction. So 2026, look for them, if the engine is decent enough, to potentially be kind of one of those fighting for points week in and week out instead of being a back marker. Next up, we've got the Haas team. As the number of races count down for the amount of times we'll be able to say the only American team as Cadillac joins the grid next year. But Esteban Ocon grabbed the last points-paying position of the day. Managed to climb past his teammate Oliver Behrman, who qualified better than Ocon in the process. That being said, Ollie did look pretty decent in the race overall. From what I could see from his onboards and where he was fighting at, looked to be driving decently. Finished 15 seconds back of Ocon, was the next car on the road. So one spot back of his teammate as a rookie. You're going to take that most weekends. And he did so with what I would say was a less than ideal tire strategy. He, I believe, went soft, medium, medium. The soft tire start really was not the move. The tires just did not last on those softs to start the race. So for him to be just outside the points, he looks to be kind of starting to find some form. So credit to Ollie Behrman. Alpine, next up on the grid. They got into some exciting fights, but largely for completely unimportant positions. They were outside the points basically all day with nothing really doing there. And really their highlight of the day was more of a blunder, as Franco Colapinto, in fighting with Yuki Tsunoda for a non-points paying finish, basically last car running, nearly took Oscar Piastri out of the race. Did not respect the blue flags, forced him onto the grass. Piastri did well to avoid A, contact, and B, just the instability of driving on grass with slick tires. And that almost certainly cost him a bit of time in his battle with Norris. But yeah, not great. And for a team that is still struggling just to get its team principal position sorted out, it's definitely looking like that lack of coordination and organization and leadership is influencing the on-track product as well, as that team definitely looks rather directionless these days. And last up, kind of the first time and hopefully the only time we'll see them as the last team mentioned. Oh wait, I know. Never mind. There's one more team to mention that's after this because they didn't have anybody finish. But Red Bull. The gradual frustrations of the Red Bull car took a very big step forward this weekend, and not in the way that you'd hope. Thanks to several factors. Yuki had another Q1 elimination, which is unfortunate. This time he was about as close as he's been to Verstappen in Q1, only a quarter of a second back of Max, but that just goes to show how fine the margins are in the field and, of course, around a relatively short track. So Yuki was once again a Q1 exit, not helping him out. But that being said, Max Verstappen himself, while he made Q3, only started 7th in this one and was behind Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson actually qualified ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen, I think, was on for a slight improvement in the final lap, but I believe he had to back out because of yellow flags in his final run. But still, starting 7th put him in trouble, and Sunday got even worse as Max Verstappen's day was done after just 3 corners. The Antonelli incident taking him out of the race, and Yuki Tsunoda ended up being the last car running. So basically about as bad of a day for Red Bull as you could expect. I think a double DNF is even not as bad as max out and just no pace last car running on the circuit. And then taking a look at some stats, the car's moving in the wrong direction. Verstappen's Q3 time was 0.6 of a second slower than it was at Austria last year. Every other team has improved and went faster in their best qualifying runs than 2024. So the Red Bull car, it's starting to look even worse than the 2024 car, which was already starting to fade off a little bit compared to McLaren at this stage of the season. And it does look like the car's a handful to drive. The pace just isn't there, and it also appears to just be absolutely devouring its tires. The wear seems to be really wearing on the team, and the car's pace struggles. And insult to Red Bull injury here, the rumors are heating up even more about a move from Max Verstappen to sign with Mercedes. The latest rumors are that Toto Wolff has gotten approval from the Mercedes board to pursue and offer a contract at, I'm guessing, the price is the commanding price that Verstappen would need in order to do that. But if Verstappen's even entertaining the thought these days, which it kind of is starting to seem like it might be, it's bad news for Red Bull, because Verstappen has typically always shooed away all the rumors of any kind of driver seat change. He's typically always been, nope, I am here at Red Bull, this is my team. But of course, the internal friction, the amount of losses to the strategy team, and well, just the entire upper management, Jonathan Wheatley, Adrian Newey, of course. So it's possible we may see, as well as comments from Toto Wolff, that George Russell does not have a 2026 contract signed yet, and Toto Wolff's comments saying they're going to sort out the driver lineup during the summer break. So that would be after the Spa race, I believe, the Belgian Grand Prix. So an exciting Austrian Grand Prix, some good fighting throughout the field. Did not really develop into the last lap battle for the lead. Lando Norris did quite well to close the championship gap. It's what now, down to, let's see, it was 22 before, and he made up, what was that, 7 points? Yeah, 7 points on his teammate, so 15? I can totally do math. So, championship fight definitely not over, and we'll see. Oscar Piastri has gone pretty well around Silverstone, but here we are, coming around the grid to park up and take a tour around the British Grand Prix circuit. I have had some time to do the usual research that I would usually like to do, but here from pole position, you can see not a huge run down to turn 1, and turn 1 is usually, in a single file, it's flat out. There's usually a little bit of a lift as cars navigate their way through the first couple of corners. You get this nice sweeping right-left combination into a decent braking zone before the cars can really get single file. So you'll see a lot of side-by-side action through these next few corners. It gives a very good opportunity for drivers to be put offline through the loop here, especially as you accelerate down onto the Wellington Straight. DRS open, and is one of your decent overtaking opportunities. Since you're coming out of a slow corner, if you've got tire advantage on that acceleration, it can help. It's not a big braking zone down here into Brooklands. This combination, this left-hander, Brooklands, and then Luffield, the right-hander. And this long right-hander, which when I pick up the pace, I'll kind of talk you through. You can see some really good side-by-side battling through there, and is actually a corner where you'll see drivers take slightly different lines. Now you head down the old pit straight. Actually, I think this is, yeah. And then into Copse. Fast right-hander, flat out in qualifying, very high speed in the race. You can get some runs from Luffield into Copse, but since there's no real braking there, it gets interesting when you try and overtake. But you will see drivers go for it. Then you're through the very quick section, Maggots, Beckett's, and Village. quick left-hander, right-hander, and you're just kind of constantly scrubbing speed as these corners increase in length and sharpen in radius. Getting a good exit out of here, you'll see drivers taking it all the way out to the left side, and then you have the next DRS zone down the hanger straight, and for your next best overtaking opportunity. Just the 2 DRS zones around this circuit. But good slipstream opportunity if you can stay through the high-speed section. It's not a big stop into Stowe. As you brake, turn in, you crest this hill, and then run out as it falls away. You can make a good opportunity to get side-by-side into Stowe and then into the Vale chicane. Last couple of corners, you're hard on the brakes. You get this nice left-right chicane, and then a very tricky final combination of corners, getting the power down and exiting the corner as quickly as you dare. So we'll do something a little different that I'm going to try out here, and we're going to do kind of still from a standing start, but this time essentially race speed. So you can see the way we pick up pace into the corner as we drive full speed. I'll try and talk through the markers that we're looking for. So into gear, get the power down. And you can see if you watch my throttle trace with no cars around me, it's immediately just flat out through that corner. It's really only the cars being combined that make it slower. Then you're into this combination, really hard braking zone to get right, and then you've got the slowest corner on the track, this left-hander, only about 55 miles an hour through there, then you're flat out through this little kink. This is where the slipstream can come big into play. Now we're down to Brooklands and Luffield brake, right around this 50-meter board. Very late apex, right around where those orange curbs are, so you can take Luffield, which you'll see drivers take a combination. First one there, the way I drove through that corner there, and we'll rewind it and just kind of watch through it. So you'll notice, can I do it with the, nope. Okay, I've only got buttons. I was gonna try and do slow-mo. But the first way you'll see drivers take this corner is kind of V'ing off the corner. So you'll see them come to this kind of apex curb early on the inside, and then trace out wide, slow the car down a little bit more, and then rotate back towards the inside curb to kind of straight line the exit as you're on this progressive exit of the corner. So you'll see drivers taking that line pretty frequently. Let's go ahead and back it up, and we'll show the other. And there are 2 reasons why you'll see them take this other line. Number one, it's the shorter line. You're hugging the inside of the corner more. But the other thing is, when you're following another car that is taking that V'd off route, it does allow you to get some clean air on the front wing of the car. So it helps out with getting the front of the car rotated, less understeer. So go ahead and reset. And as we head down, we'll do Brooklands and Luffield once again. Same thing, get here, but this time you're going to carry a lot more brake, and you're going to hold this inside line, probably 200 curve, until you get to the exit. Like I said, allows you to really get some clean air on the front of the car and just kind of take a slightly different run than the car around you. Now cops, you can see foot flat to the floor. Just the matter of turning the car is what slows it down. The same maggots, Beckett's, little lift and blip here, little blip and downshift here, and get on the throttle as early as you dare to open up. And now you'll see just how quick the entry into Stowe here can be. Just about 50 meters before the corner, little brake, little downshift, and now the tricky kind of final combination of corners. Get the car rotated, short shift for traction, and then full power as you trace out through those last couple of corners. So very fast, very flowing circuit. And you're really pushing the car quite a bit, leaning on the tires pretty heavily. And to make a segue out of it, because of the lateral G-load that the tires endure around Silverstone, you do see the 3 hardest compounds. The C1, C2, C3 combination is what we have this weekend and have had for many years here at Silverstone. And because it's more about the G-loading and less about the actual abrasion and scrubbing the tires and wearing them out, you'll typically see the one stop has been the preferred strategy around Silverstone. Another reason for that is the pit lane is long and slow, and it makes for some pretty long pit stop times. So a couple of reasons why the one-stop strategy is the preferable strategy. That being said, the last few years, at least once in the last couple of years, and we may even have it this time, it's the UK. It gets rainy. Weather could become a factor, I believe. At the current moment, there is expectation that we may see some showers both in qualifying and at times during the race. Probably a mixed conditions, so both slicks and potentially intermediates will be used during the race, which always makes strategy kind of fly out the window a little bit. It's less about what the dry tire strategy is and more about being on the right tire at the right time. So that's kind of what we're going to see for the tires. Another big effect of Silverstone is it is on the site of an old World War II airfield, was where they've put this racetrack. It's on a nice plateau. Then, as you can probably notice by looking out around, not a lot of trees around here. It's big, it's flat, and it can get windy. Obviously, wind very helpful for airplanes taking off. You take them off into a headwind, you need less speed, you need less runway, great. However, what that means is one thing to pay attention to this weekend is going to be also the wind. Because F1 cars, when the air is hitting them from the front, it's kind of how they're designed to operate. An F1 car is not really all that aerodynamic from the side. I wonder if I can do this. Can I change camera? Yeah, it's pretty blocky side on. So crosswinds can really upset the way that the car handles, especially into a lot of these high-speed corners like the Maggots and Beckett's combination. That little side can unsettle a car. You'll see drivers have big moments. The rear snaps away. So it's one thing to keep an eye out for the wind. The other is you're going to want to pay attention. Oh, I should probably brake for this corner. You're going to want to pay attention to the wind direction because for the DRS, obviously, if you're into a headwind, you've got more air resistance. So the DRS effect is more pronounced when there is a headwind. So we'll kind of want to monitor the directions of the wind down the Wellington and Hangar Straights, because it may change where you can attack. So headwind to this direction, you get some good opportunity to attack. If it's a tailwind, obviously, the opposite happens. It reduces the DRS effect, and the advantage is lessened for having that rear wing open. So a lot of things to think about when it comes to Silverstone. As far, we've talked strategy, we've talked the quirks of the track, we've talked even the wind. But let's talk about storylines. Things to pay attention to for each team in this race. McLaren we'll start with. Obviously, Lando Norris had quite the punctuation to his recovery from the Canadian Grand Prix. And it's a home race for him, being from the UK. That being said, Oscar Piastri in his 2 races around Silverstone has driven quite well here. He seems to get on pretty nicely with the track, has been competitive with his teammate, and with the steps forward that he appears to have taken this year, could very well be in contention. And the McLaren has always looked good in the high speed, which is so important around this circuit. Mercedes, of course, you've got George Russell, another driver who is having a home race here. And I think Mercedes is going to really appreciate the fact that we're looking at an overcast weekend. We're looking at cooler temperatures. And Mercedes has typically had some pretty good results around Silverstone in the hands of both George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. So we'll see what they can manage. Next, we'll go to Ferrari, another Brit, Lewis Hamilton. He has won this race eight times in his career, I think. And he's usually got good pace around here. Even, what was it, season before last, when the pace wasn't looking so great on the Mercedes, he also seems to be, rather fortunate and got a very good, well-timed safety car to end up on the podium. So Lewis Hamilton loves this circuit. Ferrari is starting to look good. I know Ferrari should have a rear suspension upgrade coming for the Belgian Grand Prix. So they won't have an upgrade package, I don't believe, this week. I'll keep an eye on it as we get closer. But Ferrari, Leclerc usually drives well around here. It's just been a good track for both of those drivers. Who do we want to talk about next? Red Bull. Red Bull needs a big bounce back weekend. Yuki Tsunoda needs to at least get the car into Q2, show something there, or at least, even if he's not, be within a tenth or so of Verstappen in Q1. Verstappen, I think, is just going to be glad to be back on the racetrack. But the Red Bull definitely has some pace to find. I think that it benefits them a bit. A track where the tire degradation is not as high coming in, so at least one of their weaknesses will be allayed a bit. But it is a concerning trend that they were slower at Austria than they were the year before. Has that car significantly moved in the wrong direction? Who do we got next? Let's go Red Bull's sister team. Let's go RB. I would expect Isaac Hadjar to bounce back. He's shown pretty good resilience so far this season. When things have not gone his way, he's come back very strong the following race. I would really like to see Liam Lawson as well, being near or ahead of Hadjar in qualifying and put together another strong race weekend to see that he's moving in the right direction. Who do we want to go through next? Aston Martin. I think Alonso's point streak is kind of important. Lance Stroll needs to start finding some time. Granted, Lance Stroll is probably the safest seat on the entire grid. But, Adrian Newey comes with expectations, and I think those expectations need to be raised on Lance Stroll's part as well. Who comes next to mind? We're doing word association, so we go A, Aston Martin, Alonso. We'll go A, Alpine next. They just need to show something, even if it's a weekend where they're, in the comfortable mid-pack. They need to be fighting for something. Pierre Gasly, I know, is a driver who can turn out fantastic performances, but the car is just not there. And I think it's going to be a rough weekend for Alpine. Oh, and because I literally mentioned them and forgot about them again in the actual race debrief for Austria. How I said the last team I talked about, wait, not the last team, because there's a team that had no cars finishing. Williams, of course. Williams is in a world of hurt right now. A double DNF after, multiple races with power unit failures. Carlos Sainz had some brake problems that stuck the rear axle. We believe that's what caused him not being able to get off the line, and then the fire when he pulled around for the pit lane start that kept him out of the race. And then Alex Albon had a retirement in that race as well. It's a home race for Williams as a team, and they are on a real rough run of form. So they are definitely going to need some help. What do we got next? Sauber. Yep, Sauber. We'll talk about them. I think we've only got Sauber and Haas left. I think that's right. Although I have shown a proclivity to forget teams. But Sauber, on the back of that double points finish, I think they really need to, as a team, help encourage Bortoleto, get him going and continuing in the right direction. Now that he's got his first career points, I think the team needs to, make sure they get him out at the right times in qualifying, to get him some clean air to run in, to continue to build that confidence now that it's starting to go there. And, of course, Nico Hülkenberg has had some pretty good results around Silverstone. So that's a team that I'm hoping continues to develop. And lastly, is... oh, did I not mention? Oh, no, I did mention Mercedes. I didn't mention Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli needs a bounce back from his rough day in Austria as well. Rookie mistake from him, but he could use it around a very quick track. But lastly, we have the Haas team. They're just kind of on the fringe of points there. I mean, obviously, they wouldn't have picked up points if not for the number of retirements ahead of them. Pace-wise, I think Williams has them pretty well in hand, but Williams is having serious reliability issues. Ollie Behrman, I think... Oh, Ollie Behrman is also a home race for him. He's British too. So Ollie Behrman, have a good race, kid. Show out for the home crowd and have some fun racing in front of the family. But I believe that kind of covers it. Looking forward to the British Grand Prix. It's usually an interesting race, especially once you get the weather involved. But it should be a fun one. It's a classic track. It's fast. It's exciting. Thank you all for joining me once again. I'll catch you guys next time.